Have you ever met someone so proud that they forgot the most basic thing every human being should do? Take a bath. Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Lagos, Nigeria, there lived a woman named Chief Mrs. Folashade Bankole Williams. But everyone called her Madame Shadi. She was so rich that money was like pure water to her, flowing everywhere without end. She owned 5 houses, 10 cars, and her jewelry collection could open a whole shop in Dubai. Madame Shadi was the kind of woman who wore only designer clothes with tags she refused to cut off so that everyone could see the brand. Her shoes were from Italy, her bags were from France, her wigs were from Brazil. Even her toilet paper was imported from America. She claimed Nigerian toilet paper was too rough for her royal buttocks. But Madame Shadi had one big terrible secret. A secret that smelled worse than lagoon on a hot afternoon. Madame Shadi did not like to bathe. I'm not talking about missing a bath once in a while. No. This woman could go 4, 5, sometimes even a whole week without touching water. Her body was dirtier than the floor of a bus park, but she covered it up with the most expensive perfumes in the world. Perfumes that cost more than some people's house rent. She would spray perfume like someone spraying insecticide on mosquitoes. Psst, psst. From head to toe. Her perfume cloud was so thick that when she walked into any room, you would smell her from the gates. That's how rich people smell, she would say proudly, throwing her head back like a peacock showing its feathers. Not like you poor people who bathe with ordinary key soap and still smell like struggle. Oh, Madame Shadi's mouth was sharper than a new razor blade when it came to insulting people about how they smelled. At the market, she would hold her nose dramatically when poor traders came near. Hey, move back! Your poverty is smelling. When was the last time you people bathed? You smell like yesterday's problems. At church, she would complain loudly if someone sat near her. This church needs to do something about these people who don't know how to wash themselves properly. Some of us maintain our hygiene. Even her own housemates, she would abuse them daily. You girls smell like failure. Go and bathe again. Scrub your skin until it shines. Poor people must work extra hard to smell decent. Within 2 years, she had changed 12 housemates. Everyone would run away after enduring her insults. Madame Shadi didn't care. She had money, and money could buy new maids anytime. But then came Yetundi. Yetundi was a small, quiet girl from Ibadan who needed money desperately to pay for her mother's hospital bills. She was 23 years old, skinny like a broomstick, and she had the eyes that looked innocent like a baby goat. When she came for the housemaid interview, Madame Shadi looked at her from head to toe like someone inspecting tomatoes. You look weak, Madame Shadi said, her nose high in the air. Can you even walk? Yes, madam. Yetunde replied quietly, her head bowed. I'm a very hard worker. And look at these clothes you're wearing. Madame Shadi continued with disgust. Is this what they wear in Ibadan? This your blouse looks like something a pig would reject. And it smells. When was the last time you washed it? You people are in poverty, I swear. Yetunde bit her lips so hard she could taste blood. But she said nothing. Her mother was lying in the hospital waiting for money for surgery, so she couldn't afford to lose this job over pride. You must bathe 3 times a day, minimum, Madame Shadi commanded, poking her finger in Yetunde's face. I cannot have smelly, dirty people in my house. The way you people from Ibadan smell like roasted yam and palm oil mixed with suffering, it's disgusting. Yes, madam, Yetunde replied. You are hired. Salary is 30,000 naira per month, but if I catch you being lazy or dirty, you will hear from me. Now go and start working. 30,000 naira was small, but it was better than nothing. Yetunde took the job. Oh, if she had known what was waiting for her, she would have run faster than a thief escaping from an angry mob. The first week, Yetunde worked like a machine. She would wake up at 4:30 a.m. She would sweep the whole compound, wash all the clothes, make breakfast, lunch and dinner, clean the bathrooms, polish the furnitures. She did everything Madame Shadi demanded. But it was during the first week that Yetunde discovered the shocking truth. One morning, While cleaning Madame Shadi's bedroom, she noticed something strange. Madame Shadi would wake up, go straight to her dresser where over 50 bottles of expensive perfumes were arranged like soldiers at attention, and start spraying herself like someone fighting invisible enemies. Psst, psst, psst. Under her arms, on her neck, between her breast, on her back, everywhere. But she never went to the bathroom to bathe first. Yetundi watched with her mouth hanging open like a broken gate. Maybe she bathed last night, she thought to herself. But when she went to clean the bathroom, the bathtub was completely dry. There was even a thin layer of dust inside it. The shower head looked like it hadn't been touched with water in weeks. Only the sinks showed signs of use, just for washing face and hands. Yetundi said to herself, what kind of thing is this? For the next few days, she observed carefully. Every single morning, the same thing. Perfume, perfume, perfume. No water, no soap, no bathing. The woman who insulted everyone about being dirty was the dirtiest person in the whole world. Yetundi was shocked, but she decided to mind her business. This is not my problem, she told herself firmly. I came here to work and make money for my mother's hospital bills. Whatever Madame is doing is her own business. Let me just focus on my work and collect my salary. But Madame Shadi had other plans. By the second week, the real wahala started. One evening, Yetundi was washing plates in the kitchen after dinner when Madame Shadi walked in, her nose wrinkled like a spoilt mango. What's that smell? She demanded. Yetundi looked around confused. Smell? Madame? Don't play dumb with me. You are the smell. When was the last time you bathed? You smell like a pig rolling in mud. Yetundi was shocked. She had just bathed 30 minutes ago. She bathed 3 times a day as instructed. Her body was cleaner than a hospital bed. But Madame, I just bathed. Are you arguing with me? Madame Shadi's voice rose higher than a church soprano. I said you smell like a dirty pig and you're telling me you bathed. You must have used that cheap soap. Go and bathe again right now with the antiseptic soap. Scrub yourself until your skin is burning, dirty girl. Tears filled Yetundi's eyes, but she went and bathed. Her skin was already getting sore from bathing so many times, but she had no choice. This became a daily torment. Every single day, Madame Shadi would find something to complain about. Your hair smells like kerosene. Your mouth smells like rotten eggs. Your armpit smells like onions mixed with shame. The insults poured down on Yetundi like acid rain, but that was just the beginning. By the 3rd week, Madame Shadi started making Yetundi work overnight. This house must be sparkling clean for my guests tomorrow, she would say at 10 p.m. I want you to scrub every floor, wash all the curtains, clean all the windows. Don't sleep until you finish. Yetundi would walk through the night like a zombie, her eyes red like traffic lights, her body aching like someone who climbed the mountain. She would finish at 5 a.m. and by 5:30 a.m., Madame Shadi would be ringing her bell for breakfast. Why are you moving like a snail? Madame Shadi would shout. Are you tired already? Lazy girl. This is why you people remain poor. No stamina for work. One day, Yetundi was so exhausted from working 2 nights straight while washing the dishes, a plate slipped from her tired hands and broke into pieces on the floor. She stood there frozen with fear. Madame Shadi appeared like a ghost from nowhere. Her eyes became red like pepper. You broke my plates? She screamed so loud that the neighbors probably heard. Do you know how much this plate costs? 5,000 naira. That's the designer plate from Italy. 5,000 naira will be deducted from your salary. But Madam, Yetundi tried to explain that it was an accident, that she was too tired from working all night. Shut up! I don't want to hear your nonsense excuse. 5,000 naira gone. And that was the beginning of the deductions. The next week, Yetundi accidentally scratched Madame's car while washing it. 20,000 naira deducted. She burned a small hole in one of Madame's wrapper while ironing. 15,000 naira deducted. That wrapper is Versace. She broke a wine glass. 8,000 naira deducted. She spilled water on Madame's expensive rug. 10,000 naira deducted. At the end of the first month, Yetundi, who was supposed to receive 30,000 naira, received only 8,000 naira after all the deductions. 8,000 naira after working like a slave for 30 days. Yetundi cried that night in her small room. She sent the 8,000 to her mother, who was still in the hospital. Her mother needed medication, food, and the hospital bills were piling up like mountains. Next month will be better, Yetunde told herself, wiping her tears with her torn wrapper. But the next month was worse. More breakages, more deductions, more insults. By the end of the second month, after all the deductions, Yetunde had only 5,000 naira left. The third month, 3,000 naira. The fourth month, 1,000 naira. Yetunde was breaking down. She would cry herself to sleep every night. Her mother was calling from the hospital begging for money, but Yetunde had nothing to send. The small money she managed to send was money she made from pricing foodstuffs in the market whenever Madam sent her on errands. 50 naira here, 100 naira there. But then something worse happened. On the 5th month, when it was time for salary payment, Madame Shadi didn't pay her at all. Nothing. Not even 1 naira. Yetunde waited for weeks. Still nothing. Finally, she gathered all her courage and knocked on Madame Shadi's bedroom door one evening. Madam, please, about my salary. Madame Shadi looked up from her phone where she was browsing expensive shoes online. What about it? It's been 3 weeks since month end and I haven't received it. Oh, that. I'm not paying you this month. Yetunde's heart dropped. But, Madam, I worked. I need the money for my mother's hospital. Did I ask you about your mother's hospital? Madame Shade's voice was cold like ice block from the freezer. Listen, you've been breaking too many things in this house. You're careless and dirty. Consider this month as payment for all the damages you've caused. In fact, you should be thanking me that I still allowed you to stay in my house. But Madam, please. My mother is very sick. The hospital is asking for money. Please, even if it's half, please. Are you deaf? Madame Shade stood up, her face twisted with anger. I said I'm not paying you. If you ask me again, I will sack you and throw you out of this house like the dirty rag you are. Do you understand me? I will pay you when I want to pay you, not when you want me to pay you. You are nobody to demand money from me. Nobody. She pushed Yetunde out of her room and slammed the door so hard that the whole house shook. Yetunde stood outside the door, tears streaming down her face like a running tap. Her whole body was shaking. That money was supposed to save her mother's life. She went back to her small room and called her mother at the hospital. Mama, I'm sorry. I couldn't send money this month. Please hold on small. I will send soon. Her mother's weak voice came through the phone. It's okay, my daughter. God will provide. Don't cry. Just keep working hard. But after the call ended, Yetunde cried until she had no more tears left. The 6th month passed, no payments. The 7th month passed, still no payments. Yetunde was now sleeping only 3 hours a day because Madame Shade kept giving her overnight work. She had lost so much weight that her clothes were hanging on her body like they were on a hanger. Her hands were scrubbed like sandpaper from constantly washing and scrubbing. Her eyes had dark circles under them like she was a ghost. But Madame Shadi didn't care. She seemed to enjoy watching Yetunde suffer. She would smile whenever she insulted her. She would laugh when Yetunde broke something and started panicking. The woman was a bully who derived joy from tormenting those weaker than her. One day, Madame Shade was having tea with her friend, Mrs. Abosede, in the living room. Yetunde was serving them snacks. This girl looks like a walking corpse, Mrs. Abosede commented. Shade, are you feeding her well? Food? This girl eats my food and still looks like this. It's because poor people's bodies are designed for suffering. Look at her skin, rough like alligator. I've told her to use some moisturizers, but she's too stingy to buy cream. Yetunde wanted to scream, you haven't paid me in 3 months, how will I buy cream? But she kept quiet and went back to the kitchen, where she cried silently into a dish towel. That night, as Yetunde lay on her thin mattress in her small room, staring at the ceiling, something inside her snapped. She was tired of all the insults, tired of the unpaid work and being treated like trash. Enough is enough. Yetunde whispered to herself in the darkness. This woman was pay. If not with money, she must pay with shame. And that was when she started planning. The very next morning, while cleaning Madame Shadi's room, Yetundi had her on the phone, excited like a child who just got candy. Yes, book the venue's garden for November 15th. I want the biggest venue. My 50th birthday must be the event of the year. I'm inviting governors, senators, all big people in Lagos. This party must break the internet. Madame Shadi saw Yetundi cleaning. You, when my birthday party happens, you better work extra hard. I don't want any mistakes. Everyone must see that I have the best staff. You will serve my guests with a smile even though you smell like a pig. Yes, madam, Yetundi said quietly. But inside, her brain was working faster than a computer. The birthday party, that was her opportunity. She would expose this wicked woman in front of all her important guests. She would tell everyone that the perfume billionaire doesn't even bathe. She would disgrace her so badly that Lagos would never forget. But then Yetundi remembered something important, her salary. If she disgraced Madam at the party, there was no way she would come back to this house alive. Madam would probably call the police to arrest her, and she still hadn't paid for 3 whole months. That was 90,000 naira, money that her mother desperately needed. Yetundi sat on the kitchen floor thinking hard. How could she get her money and still disgrace this woman? For days, she thought about it. She couldn't just ask for the money. Madame Shadi had already threatened to sack her if she asked again. She couldn't report to authorities because who would believe a poor housemaid over a rich billionaire? Then one night, an idea came to her. A dangerous idea. But then, desperate times calls for desperate measures. She would take her payment herself. 2 nights before Madame Shadi's birthday party, the plan went into action. It was 11 p.m. Madame Shadi had gone out to inspect the party venue and take photo shoot pictures for her Instagram. She wouldn't be back until very late. Yetundi's heart was beating like a talking drum as she tiptoed into Madame Shadi's bedroom. Her hands were shaking like leaves in a storm. She had never stolen anything in her entire life, but this wasn't really stealing, she told herself. This was collecting her salary that was being wickedly withheld. She opened the Madame's bedroom door quietly. The room smelled like a perfume factory. She went straight to the closet where Madame kept her wig collection. There were rows and rows of expensive Brazilian hair wigs, each one sitting on its own like royalty. Yetundi knew that these wigs cost at least 1 million naira each because Madame was always bragging about them. With trembling hands, she took 4 wigs. Her heart was beating so fast, she thought it would jump out of her chest. Then she went to Madame's jewelry box. She took 4 pieces of gold jewelry, a necklace, 2 bracelets and a ring. These ones were real gold. But then, Yetundi saw something that made her stop breathing. On Madame's dresser was a Rolex watch in a glass case. She remembered the day Madame came back from Dubai, bragging loudly to everyone. This watch cost me $143,000. That's over 70 million naira. Only the best for me. Yetunde stared at the watch. Her hands reached out, hesitated, and then she grabbed it. She packed everything quickly into a Ghana must go bag and ran back to her room. Her whole body was shaking like someone with malaria. She had just committed a serious crime. When she thought about her mother lying in the hospital, when she remembered all the insults, all the unpaid work and suffering, her resolve hardened. She called her friend Bella, who lived in Sulleri. Bella, I need your help urgently. 30 minutes later, Bella arrived on her Okada. She was a short woman with a suspicious face that looked like she was always expecting trouble. Yetunde, why you call me this night? Wetin dey happen? Yetunde brought out the bag. Please, keep this bag for me in your house. Don't open it. Don't ask questions. I will explain everything later. Just keep it safe until I come for you tomorrow night. Bella's eyes became wide like plates. Yetunde, wetin dey inside this bag? Bella, please. Just do this for me. It's very important. I beg you. Bella looked at her friend's desperate face and agreed. Okay, but you better have a good explanation. After Bella left with the bag, Yetunde felt like a huge weight had been lifted up from her chest. Phase 1 was complete. Now for phase 2, the disgrace. The next day was Madame Shadi's birthday party. The woman was so busy with final preparation, she didn't even notice her wigs and jewelries were missing. Her closet was full of expensive things that a few missing items didn't register. The party was scheduled to hold at 6 p.m., but by 5 p.m., guests started arriving. Governors with their convoys, senators with their mistresses, Nollywood actors in their dresses, businessmen with their big bellies. Everyone who was someone in Lagos was there. The venue was decorated more beautifully than a wedding, white and gold everywhere, a stage with professional lighting, a live band, tables groaning with refreshments, and everything was looking exquisite. And there was Madame Shadi, wearing a golden dress that sparkled like a Christmas tree, her neck loaded with diamonds, and of course, smelling like she had bathed in an entire bottle of perfume. "Welcome, welcome!" She greeted her guests with a smile, wider than the Third Mainland Bridge. Yetundi was working in the kitchen with other hired staff, serving food and drinks, but her mind was somewhere else. She was waiting for the right moment. At 7 p.m., after everyone had eaten and the MC was entertaining the guests, Yetundi took a deep breath. It was time. She walked over to where Madame Shadi was sitting with her VIP friends and forming posh. "Madam," Yetundi said quietly. Madame Shadi turned, her face immediately showing irritation. "What do you want? Can't you see I'm with my guests?" "Madam, please, I need to talk to you about my salary. It's been 3 months. Madame Shadi's face turned red with anger. "What? You want to embarrass me in front of my guests? On my birthday? How dare you?" The guests started looking around. "Madam, please, my mother is dying in the hospital. I need money for her medication. Please, just give me something, even if it is half." "Get out! How dare you come here with your poverty story on my special day?" She grabbed a glass of champagne from the table and poured it all over Yetunde's head. The cold liquid ran down Yetunde's face, her neck, soaking her uniform. The whole party went silent, like someone had pressed a pause on a remote control. "This is what happened when you employ local girls," Madame Shadi announced to everyone. "They have no manner, no sense. Get out of my sight before I call security to throw you out." She pushed Yetunde away, making her stumble and nearly fall. Yetunde stood there, champagne dripping from her hair, her uniform soaked, her body shaking, but not with fear this time. She was shaking with rage, pure hot rage. The MC tried to lighten the mood. Okay, let's not spoil this our party. Ladies and gentlemen, we now want to hear from some people. Who wants to say something nice about our celebrants? One by one, guests came up to say sweet things about Madame Shadi. "She's so generous, she's a woman of class, she inspires us all." Lies, lies, and more lies. Then the MC said, "We also want to hear from the staff who has worked hard for this party. Can we get any one of them to say something?" Some of the hired staff were too scared, but then Yetunde stepped forward. The MC handed her the microphone. Madame Shadi's eyes widened with alarm. "No, she's not," but it was too late. Yetunde had the microphone and the sound system was on full blast. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," Yetunde began, her voice surprisingly calm for someone whose heart was racing like a marathon runner. "I want to thank Madam for this opportunity to speak." People clapped politely, expecting a normal thank you speech. "I've worked in Madam's house for 7 months now," Yetunde continued, "and I've learned so many interesting things." Madame Shadi was trying to get to her, but her guests were in the way. "For example, I learned that one perfume can cost over 600,000 naira. "Yetunde!" Madame Shadi screamed. "I also learned that someone can go 7 whole days without taking a bath." The crowd gasped like one person sucking in air. "Ladies and gentlemen," Yetunde said, her voice rising with emotion. "Do you want to know why Madame Shadi smells so different? Why her perfume is always so strong that it chokes you?" "Stop her!" Madame Shadi was screaming, pushing through guests like mad woman. "It's because Madame Shadi doesn't bathe." Chaos exploded like a bomb in the middle of the party. "What? She doesn't bathe? No, I knew something was wrong." Yetunde pulled out her phone and ran to where the technician was controlling the big screen. Before anyone could stop her, she connected her phone. Images flashed on the screen. Photos of Madame Shadi's dusty bathtub, her dry shower, her unused soap, her army of perfume bottles. For 7 months, I have lived in that house. Yetunde shouted into the microphone, tears running down her face now, mixing with the champagne. Not once did I see this woman take a proper bath. She just sprays perfume, expensive imported perfume, on top of dirt, on top of sweat, on top of everything nasty. The guests were going wide. Oh my God, this is disgusting. I hugged her earlier. Oh my gosh, I ate from the plate she touched. Jesus Christ. Then Yetunde played the video, the one showing Madame Shadi in her room talking to herself. Why should I waste my time bathing when I have a perfume that costs more than people's salary? Water is for poor people. Perfume is all I need. The crowd roared with disgust. Madame Shadi was standing frozen in the middle of the party, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Her face had turned from black to red to purple to green. And you want to know the best part? Yetunde continued, her voice filled with pain and anger. This woman who doesn't bathe, who walks around smelling like a perfume shop mixed with a garbage dump, has been calling me dirty. Me, when I bathe 3 times a day, when my body is cleaner than a hospital operating room. Lies! She's lying! Madame Shadi finally found her voice. She's a liar. She's just jealous of my success. Jealous? Yetunde laughed a bitter, broken laugh. Jealous of someone who hasn't paid me in 3 months? Someone who works me overnight like a slave and deducts my whole salary for small mistakes until I have nothing. The crowd went quiet, listening now. I came to Lagos to work honestly, Yetunde said, her voice shaking with emotion. My mother is dying in the hospital. I needed money. I thought I found a job, but instead, I found a monster in designer clothes. A woman who tortures her workers. A woman who treats poor people like garbage while she herself is dirty inside and out. Mrs. Abosede, Madame Shade's friend, stood up slowly. Shade, is this true? You haven't been paying her? Don't listen to her, Madame Shadi screamed. She's lying. But then one of the other staff members stepped forward. Madame Shadi is telling lies. Everything this girl said is true. She's wicked. She beat us. She know they pay. She dey deduct money anyhow. Another staff member joined in. Not true. I for run away last month, but I need the money. This woman a devil. Now the crowd turned on Madame Shadi like lions on a wounded prey. You mean you've been treating people like this? And you have the audacity to be throwing parties? And you don't even bathe? This is an abomination. One senator stood up and announced, I cannot associate with such a person. This is disgraceful. He walked out. A Nollywood actor started vomiting dramatically by the champagne fountain. I touched her. Oh God, I touched her dirty body. One by one, guests started leaving. Some were cursing, some were laughing. Some were calling their friends to share the hot gist. Wait, please don't go. It's not true. She's lying, please. Madame Shadi was running after them like a mad woman. But nobody was listening. The party had turned into a disaster, more terrible than any Nollywood tragic movie. Within 30 minutes, the venue was half empty. The band had stopped playing and the caterers were packing up. Even the MC had disappeared. Madame Shadi collapsed onto a chair, crying like a baby. Her makeup was running down her face in black streams. Her golden dress was wrinkled. Her pride was shattered into a million pieces. She looked up and saw Yetunde standing watching her. You! Madame Shadi pointed with a shaking finger. You destroyed my life, you little rat. I will deal with you. I will arrest you. With what evidence? Yetunde asked calmly. That I exposed the truth? That I showed everyone who you really are? Madame Shadi stood up and charged at Yetunde like a wounded buffalo, but security held her back. I'm leaving now, Yetunde said, and you will never see me again. But before I go, let me tell you something. Money cannot buy everything. It cannot buy cleanliness. It cannot buy kindness or respect. You are rich, but you are dirty. Not just your body. Your heart is the dirtiest thing about you. She turned and walked away, leaving Madame Shadi screaming behind her like a market woman who discovered her money was stolen. Yetunde went straight to Bella's house in Surulere. When she got there, she collected her bag and went to a popular market in Balogun the next morning. She sold the wigs, the gold, and the Rolex to dealers who asked no questions. In total, she got 15 million naira, much more than the 3 months' salary she was owed. She sent 10 million to the hospital for her mother's surgery, kept 5 million for herself to start a small business. As for Madame Shadi, her life became a living nightmare. The videos from the party went viral faster than Akara disappears at a party. By next morning, it was trending all over social media. Hashtag perfume billionaire. Hashtag the woman who doesn't bait. Hashtag dirty rich woman. Bloggers wrote articles, comedians made jokes, musicians even made songs about her. Children in the streets were singing, Madame Shadi, Madame Shadi, no go bait, just the spray. All her friends abandoned her. Many partners cancelled their contracts, saying that they cannot do business with someone whose personal hygiene is questionable. Her church asked her to stop coming because the testimony was too embarrassing. Even her own relatives started avoiding her. The family name has been disgraced, they cried. Madame Shadi tried to sue Yetundi for defamation, but her lawyers advised her, Madam, if we go to court, they will investigate, and if they find out you really don't bait, the case will only make things worse. She tried to post on Instagram to defend herself, but the comment sections were a pure katakata. Go and bait first before posting. Billionaire with body odor. Order designer clothes on dirty body. Money can't buy soap, apparently. Her mental health began to collapse. She would cry all day. She stopped going out because people would point and laugh. Some people would even hold their noses when they saw her. One day, 3 months after the party incident, Madame Shadi's house girl went to her room to serve breakfast and found Madame sitting on her bed, just staring at the wall. Madam, your food is ready. Madame Shadi turned to look at her with red, swollen eyes. Do you know what I've learnt? What, madam? That respect is not bought with money. It is earned with how you treat people. She started crying again.
I was wicked. I was proud. I thought my money made me better than everyone. But in the end, a poor housemaid destroyed me with just the truth.
The house girl didn't know what to say, so she just put the food down and left. Eventually, Madame Shadi couldn't bear the shame anymore. She sold her Lagos houses and moved to a small town in Ogun State where nobody knew her. They say she finally learned to bathe properly, 3 times a day now, with soap and water, and she uses perfumes only after bathing, not instead of bathing. She also started a small charity to help poor families with hospital bills, in honor of the girl whose mother almost died because she refused to pay her salary. As for Yetundi, she used her money wisely. Her mother's surgery was successful. She opened a small restaurant in Ibadan that became very popular. She got married to a good man and had children. Sometimes, when her children asked her about how she got money to start her business, she tells them the full story and always ends the story with, children, always remember, no matter how much money you have, always treat people with respect, because the person you look down on today might be the one to bring you down tomorrow. And also, she would add with a small smile, please, please, always take your bath. The moral lesson of this story reminds us that a dirty king is still dirty, even if his crown is made of gold. Money cannot cover bad character. Wealth cannot hide wickedness. Pride comes before a fall, and that fall is usually painful and public. Madame Shadi had everything, but she lacked the most basic things: cleanliness, kindness, and humility. She thought an expensive perfume could mask her dirty body, and she thought her wealth gave her rights to abuse others. But in the end, it was a small housemaid, someone she considered beneath her, who exposed her and brought her down. Also, when you withhold people's wages and treat them wickedly, don't be surprised when they find a way to collect what is theirs. Maybe not through prayer, but through strategy. When you push people to the wall, they will fight back, and sometimes their fight will destroy you completely. And finally, please, for the love of God, take your bath. Perfume is not a substitute for soap and water. Even your perfume, even if it costs 1 million naira, if you don't bathe, you will still smell like trouble mixed with regrets.